Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. Today's topic is Fat is Not the Bad Guy. My name is Ala Bierman. I'm a health educator at the Health Education Department at Beaver Medical Group. So let's start by defining fat. What are the dietary fats? Fat is a type of nutrient. And just like protein and carbohydrates, our body needs some fat for energy, to absorb vitamins, and to protect our heart and brain health. Fat is bad for you. We hear this every day, all the time, whether we are told by society or by our parents. It's a never-ending cycle. And it meant to instill fear of fat and also to avoid it by all cost. And it's also why we always check the nutrition label, sorry, before eating. And we're always biased towards buying anything that labeled as um, fat-free or no saturated fats. So for years, fat was a dirty word in a dietary world. After World War II, large studies established links between saturated fat and heart disease. Most dietary experts advised people to reduce their fat intake, not only because of the heart conditions and heart connections, but also because fat has more calories per gram than protein or carbs, and it was assumed to contribute more to weight gains. So as we can see here in this picture, 1 gram of carbs equals to 4 calories, 1 gram of protein equals to 4 calories, while 1 gram of fats equals to 9 calories, which is almost double the carbs and protein. Many people did so and they listened to the dietary experts, but they often replaced the lost calories with large amounts of carbs, especially refined carbs. They also stopped eating healthy fats like olive oils or canola oils. Instead of helping them slim down, the decline of fat consumption was related to higher rates of overweight and obesity. What went awry, as it turned out that all fat is bad quotation, that message was wrong. Foods that contain fat help fill you up so you stop eating earlier. So we need to realize that these stereotypes are outdated and based on faulty studies. We also, as society, are the ones who have villainized fat, claiming it is the cause of increasingly unhealthy condition of the American population. But most importantly, not all fats are alike. So saturated fat, found mainly in meat and dairy foods, contributes to clogged arteries and heart diseases. But monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats, or as we call them MUFA and PUFA, found in plants and healthful oils, actually protects our health by improving our cholesterol. There is another type of fat needed for so many physiological functions and reasons in the family of, it is the family of omega-3. So our body can't make these kind of fats on its own. It must get it from a different kind of food. Some good resources of omega-3 as we can see in this picture over here. Fatty fish such as salmon, tuna, sardines, flax seeds, walnuts, canola oil, flaxseed oil. These are all rich in omega-3s. So here are some tips of adding more healthy fats to your diet. You can start by adding a tablespoon of chopped nuts to a salad. You can add flax seeds to your salad. You can add sunflower seeds to your salads, walnuts. These are all healthier options. Cook with a light drizzle of olive oil, or you can use the spray oil to spray the pan before you start cooking. Incorporate more fish into your meals during the week. As we mentioned, salmon, tuna, sardines these are good sources for omega-3. Use avocados to make chicken or tuna salad instead of mayo. If you look online, you will find so many recipes on how to make avocado spreads instead of mayos to use with your food as a dressing or as like a base instead of mayo. Limit overly fatty meats, baked or other highly processed, high sugar and fried foods. All right, so trans fats are the worst fats for your health. These fats are made when hydrogen is added to healthy unsaturated fats to solidify them and make them less likely to spoil. Trans fats raise the harmful cholesterol, the LDL, lower the good cholesterol, the HDL, increase inflammation, and also make the blood more likely to clot. So trans fat is double trouble for your heart health. When you go to buy your food, um, be sure to look for products that have a 0 on the trans fat line in the nutrition facts label. Tips for avoiding trans fats food. Opt for the naturally occurring unhydrogenated vegetable oils such as canola, sunflower, safflower, or the olive oil. Look for processed foods made with unhydrogenated oil rather than saturated fat or hydrogenated. Some of them are partially hydrogenated also. Limit fast food, fried food, and baked goods made with shortening or partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. Products may have hidden trans fats, so read the labels carefully as we mentioned. This is something to chew on. I like this quote. There is no love sincerer than the love of food, by George Chow. Let's watch this short video, and it's about the truth about fat.
For years, the government published dietary guidelines meant to keep Americans healthy. There's a great deal to learn. Tell me what you eat, and I'll tell you what you are. Huh? The body needs certain substances to live and grow. And remember, your body isn't just like an automobile. For years, the key message of those guidelines was the same. cut fat from your diet.
The committee's original report urged Americans to reduce their risk of heart attacks by reducing their intake of cholesterol down to the equivalent of about 1 egg a day.
And those guidelines had an effect. From 1977 to 2012, per capita consumption of eggs fell by 9%, beef by 37%, whole milk by 72%. Calories from saturated fat fell, while calories from supposedly safe carbohydrates increased. As one expert put it, it was a vast nutritional experiment. With nearly 1 million Americans a year dropping dead from heart disease in the mid-'80s, we had to try something. Nearly 4 decades later, the results are in. The experiment was a failure. Americans are sicker than they've ever been before. The prevalence of diabetes has gone up 157% from 1980 to 2011. Nearly 1 in 10 Americans now has the disease, costing the public health system $245 billion a year. Heart disease is still the #1 killer in the country, and Americans are as obese as ever. So what went wrong?
Good old granola, great for taste, but loaded with fat.
It doesn't take much of an imaginative leap to assume that fat would make us fat. It would clog our arteries and raise the risk of heart disease. But it turns out that saturated fat is a lot more complicated than we think.
Carbohydrates and fats are nutrients.
Like, man, you need nutrients to live and grow.
Firstly, there are 2 kinds of cholesterol. LDL, which is linked to heart disease, and HDL, which can be protective. Fats that course through the blood are known as triglycerides, and high levels of those are linked to heart disease. Saturated fat raises LDL cholesterol, but also raises HDL, moving LDL buildup on arterial walls. So raising both makes saturated fat a cardio wash. One key piece of information is that LDL seems to come in 2 forms: large and fluffy, small and dense. Those smaller particles are linked to heart disease, while the larger ones are mostly benign. Saturated fat increases the number of large particles, but the opposite happens with carbs.
I don't get it.
Researchers have long since discovered the kind of fats found in olives and in fish like salmon are actually heart protective. Now it turns out the fats found in meat and dairy aren't as bad as we feared before. So that means by focusing so much on fats, we may actually have been making ourselves sicker.
So she brings up the subject of reduced fat cheese. It's a fat-free mutant.
Fat-free, cholesterol-free.
Low-fat granola.
Reduced fat kettle chip.
Reduced fat chips ahoy.
Low-fat cottage cheese.
Non-fat yogurt is a perfect example.
Thinking for consumers was simple. Fat was dangerous, this product had no fat, therefore it must be healthy.
It's non-fat, which means less calories.
But amid the confusion about fat, we ended up replacing it in our diets with sugars and carbohydrates, which means our calorie intake was actually going up. When carbs from things like corn and white bread are ingested into your body, they're converted into sugars. Those sugars convert to insulin, which causes fat cells to go into storage overdrive, leading to weight gain. Since fewer calories are then left to fuel the body, we begin to feel hungry, even as our metabolism begins to slow down in an effort to save energy. We eat more and we gain more weight, never quite feeling full. As this process repeats, our cells become more resistant to insulin, which causes us to gain more weight, which only increases insulin resistance in a vicious circle. Cut calories and people just get hungrier. Obesity, diabetes, high triglycerides, and low HDL cholesterol can all follow. Study after study has found that it's very difficult to lose weight on a very low-fat diet, possibly because fat and meat can produce a sense of satiety, which is hard to achieve with carbs, making it easier to simply stop eating. But it isn't just the increase in carbs that affects us. These processed, low-saturated fat alternatives come loaded with sugars, salt, preservatives, and even some unhealthy fats. So what's the real alternative? As one expert puts it, the cold hard truth about diet is that the only way to eat well is to eat well. We'll be happier and we'll be healthier. Focus on real, whole foods, whether they have fat or not.
Got it.
And thanks. We'll never forget what we've learned.
All right, so this is a picture from the American Heart Society, the facts on fat. So the American Heart Society recommends replacing the saturated fats with good unsaturated fats as part of a healthy eating pattern. So as we can see here in the picture, love it for the unsaturated poly and and mono, and it says it's lower rates of cardiovascular and all-cause mortality. It lowers the bad cholesterol and the triglyceride levels, provides essential fats for your body that your body needs but can't produce itself, as we said, the omega-3. The second part is limited for the saturated because it increases the risk of cardiovascular diseases, and it also raises the bad cholesterol levels. Lose it, the artificial trans fat, the hydrogenated oils, and the tropical oils, because it increases the risk of heart disease, and it also raises the bad cholesterol levels. So, fats are bad is a myth, and this myth is all around the world. Everyone knows it, everyone heard about it, but the truth is not all fats are bad for you. Some are essential to our health, as we mentioned before in the omega-3 family. So the good fats and the bad fats. The good fats are the and the monounsaturated fats, and we can find those in nuts and seeds, olive, canola, peanut, and safflower oils, avocados, fatty fish like salmon, tuna, and sardines. The saturated fats, or the bad fats, we can find these in cheese, coconut, palm, and other partially or hydrogenated oils, mayo, cold cuts, and cured meats. Also, in this picture, it says say bye-bye to these trans fats, the fast food, crackers and cookies, cakes, donuts, margarine, and hydrogenated oils as well. The perks of good fats, and we mentioned this before, it lower the risk of cardiovascular disease and stroke. It lower the blood pressure, lower the bad cholesterol or the LDLs. Um, it boosts your energy. It helps promoting healthy weight or weight loss. It also curbs the cravings. So, did you know a little bit of fat goes a long way? It has a high caloric density of 9 calories per gram as compared to 4 calories per gram from carbs and protein, as we mentioned earlier. Thank you so much for joining our webinar for today. You can find the future webinars and classes if you scan the QR code down here, or you can visit our social media accounts on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter as well. And if you have any question, please don't hesitate to reach out to the health education department or call us at any time. Thank you and have a wonderful day.